There is a fine line between hero and anti-hero. We all have our own opinions on what makes a hero and an anti-hero an anti-hero. I believe that Odysseus lands straight in the middle of either or. Let's get into why. Now let's consider who Odysseus is by looking into his character traits. First up, selfish. Odysseus and his men come across the sirens, and Odysseus tells his men that only he is allowed to hear the siren's song. He makes his men tie him up to do so, therefore believing he is more worthy than others. Secondly, cocky. After Odysseus and his men escape from the Cyclops just barely, Odysseus taunts the Cyclops. This is not only selfish, but also puts him and his men in danger. Thirdly, confident. When Odysseus is disguised as a beggar and going up against the suitors for his wife, he shoots through 6 axe handle hoops. In that moment, he was incredibly self-assured of not just himself, but his abilities. And lastly, brave. Odysseus is a great warrior, and with being a warrior comes great bravery. Odysseus is very brave when he confronts the Cyclops by stabbing him in the eye, therefore blinding him. You have to admit it takes guts to do something like that. Guts and stupidity are also, kind of blurry when put together. They almost look the same sometimes. Now that we've covered what makes up his character, let's look into what makes people believe he is a hero. Heroic deeds. The first one is represented by loyalty. In the Lotus Eaters section, Odysseus and his men arrive at the Lotus Eaters Island. Odysseus sends 3 of his men out to check the area. His men end up eating the lotus and lose their will to go back home. Odysseus goes out to find them and brings them back, therefore showing he is loyal to his men. The second one is represented by courage. Odysseus shows courage when he finds his mother in the land of the dead. He has an insatiable will to keep going no matter what, even when facing his own dead mother. The third one is represented by strength. In Odysseus' revenge, he shows incredible physical strength by fighting all the suitors with his bow and arrow. The pure grit and strength him and his son show are unmatched as they are fighting for their home. And lastly, craftiness. Odysseus is shown to be very crafty multiple times. However, one time of note is when he and his men go under the Cyclops' rams to escape. Odysseus saved his men's lives that day as well as his own. Now I'm going to talk about how these tie into the story. Loyalty. Odysseus being loyal enough to go back for his men and fight for their lives makes it all the more devastating when he loses each and every one of them. And for courage, when Odysseus realizes his mother is gone, it emphasizes how long he has been gone on his journey. When we see him wait for his mother, it shows his humanity. And for strength, when Odysseus slaughters all the suitors, you can feel how emotionally charged it is. He has been fighting for years to make it back home, and seeing it taken up by a bunch of men made him distraught. It shows that no matter what, he was always willing to fight for his home. And lastly, craftiness. Odysseus being smart and or clever ties into a lot of the themes in the story. By using his cleverness, though a little overzealous sometimes, it represents him as a hero, and ultimately probably saved his life in the end. Now that I've talked about who Odysseus is and what makes him a hero, let's talk about what he is represented as in pictures and what he looks like.
What did Odysseus actually look like? I have a few example photos drawn by various artists over the years based off of different scenes from different sections, but I want an immersive experience. Odysseus was typically seen wearing a toga, off-white, usually a little short, and a hat that was relatively small that showed off his gorgeous curls and his bushy beard. And his weapon of choice is a bow and arrow. That concludes our short but important outfit showcase.
Now that we've reached the end, it's hard for me to call Odysseus a hero. Though he does heroic things, I can't help but have this kind of distaste for him. I don't really know where it came from, but I guess, being pretty cocky and selfish can do it for me, and cheating on his wife basically for 7 years. I don't really know if he is really a hero to me or an anti-hero. Like I said, I think he just lands in the middle because he's very morally gray. So thank you for watching my character analysis on Odysseus.
Do you think I'm gonna get a good grade?
No, not a chance.